Hello lovely humans, and welcome back to my channel, Nomaklay Studio. Today I'm going to be doing a resin for the first time ever, so let's go ahead and get started. As you just saw, I have on my goggles and my respirator mask. I've also got some of these gloves to protect my hands from the resin. I've also got a few other supplies like this paintbrush that I'll be using to paint on the resin. I've also got this dish that I used to put the resin in, this string that was originally not very helpful but ended up saving us in the end, and also this rubber band. Didn't use it. Also, I'm using Vita Rosa UV resin, which is a pretty decent product. This UV lamp that's got this acrylic board that you can put your items on so that it gets an even coating all around, an even curing all around. And this is the lamp. It's got 36 watts, which is pretty good for making sure that you can get a good curing within a shorter amount of time. Here I'm using a clothes drying rack as my pseudo desk because the desk that I had made is an L-shaped desk and ended up not fitting into the doorway. So we're waiting to get it cut and moved into the room. But until then, clothes drying rack it is. I'm actually pouring the UV resin here, but I've since learned that pouring directly onto the item is a little bit better and easier to properly cover the item in resin. This way is okay, but if you leave the saucer or plate or whatever you have the UV resin on in front of the light, it can get cured. So it's not the most fantastic way to apply resin. So a little background about what I'm resining in this video. I made these watermelon earrings. I made a few and I thought they were pretty cool. So I ended up using them to test out my first resin setup and session, and they were actually pretty good to use for that. At this point, I realized that the string might have some use after all. I decided to tie it to the UV lamp so that I could hang the items from the string. The thought was that the acrylic board is really nice, but only if the items have already been cured at least once, or at least to the point where the acrylic board isn't going to leave like a flat spot in the resin. So this was actually a really good idea. It allows the items to be cured all around because the lamps are on the top and the bottom. And this is me testing out holding the next item that I'm resining, the koala head, and it is just a simple paper clip that I'm hanging onto the string to test everything out, and it works perfect. This is the second item that I decided that I was going to resin, and it's this koala head. So in one of my previous videos, I made this koala head to test out if paper clips would do well as eye pins. So I'll give you the full answer to that. I think yes. If you don't have eye pins that are actually like eye pins, like that's their use case, then I think using paper clips is a good idea, but it left like a spot of rust on the item, and because I hadn't painted, you could see it really well. You can't see it anymore. Also, and this is probably my fault, but it moves around a lot, and I think maybe because I took it out to check it at some point, it wasn't able to get like dried into the item. So yeah, I think that's on me. If I do try paperclip eye pins again, then I will definitely not try to pull it out of the item. But as you can see, it's, you know, it's okay looking. It's not as cute as actual eye pins. And again, that's probably user error. I think that I need a little bit more practice bending and making sure that the loop is cute. So the koala head ended up with a few bubbles, and because I had not done proper research beforehand, that's totally my bad. I didn't realize that I was supposed to get the bubbles out before I cured the item. I have a heat gun and I tried to use the heat gun on the cured koala head and it did nothing for the bubbles. Absolutely nothing. So now that I know that I'm supposed to do that on the uncured item, I know how to move forward. So you can't really see the bubbles that well, especially on this video. You can't see them that well like in person either. And also I was able to sand them down, but either way, imperfections are okay. It just means we're human. So I take imperfections as they are. I ended up changing the eye pin into an eye screw, putting a keychain on it and putting it on my daughter's book bag, so all was not lost and she thinks it's cute. I decided to give each of the items a few more minutes of UV lamp time so they could be fully cured, no stickiness. And voila, here is the finished koala head, still with the paperclip eye pin in, but that's okay because we changed it to an eye screw in the end. And the watermelon earrings, super cute, super shiny. I love the way they turned out and I'm so excited to continue doing these resin projects. What should I resin next?